I leaned back against the ivory leather of my yacht's lounge chair, the satin of my champagne-colored dress whispering against my skin. The harbor glittered beneath the evening sky, lights from the city reflecting across the rippling water. Waiters moved gracefully, setting polished glasses on silver trays, arranging roses so red they almost looked like velvet flames. Everything was in motion, everything but me. I sat still, staring at the glowing screen of my phone. "Sent," I whispered, watching the last invitation slip out into the digital void. To them. To the people who had skipped my birthday like it was just another Tuesday. My parents. The irony tasted sharper than the chilled champagne resting by my side. Tonight wasn't just a party. Tonight was proof. Proof that the little girl they once dismissed had built an empire on her own. Proof that even absence leaves an echo, and I had learned to fill mine with steel, with fire, with ambition. The yacht engine purred beneath me, steady and strong, as if reminding me of my own heartbeat. My phone buzzed again. Another RSVP confirmed. One by one, they were all coming, including them. I smoothed the silk over my knees, checking the reflection in the glass window, red lipstick flawless, diamond earrings swaying like small promises of victory. Outside, the ocean breeze carried salt and freedom. Inside, I carried the memory of a birthday cake no one showed up for. "Let's see if you forget me tonight," I murmured, raising my glass to my own reflection. I remember the smell of frosting more vividly than anything else. Vanilla buttercream, too sweet, sitting untouched on a cake I had bought for myself. 23 candles flickered in the dim light of my tiny apartment, their wax dripping silently, as though even time itself couldn't be bothered to wait for me. The phone never rang. No "Happy birthday, sweetheart." No knock on the door. My parents, John and Linda Miller, were across town, wrapped up in their lives, pretending mine didn't matter. I sat there on the couch, scrolling through Instagram, watching friends post pictures of family dinners, balloons, laughter. I tried to swallow the lump in my throat, but it stuck stubbornly. My hands shook as I lit another candle, hoping maybe it would feel different if I wished harder. It didn't. Hours later, the frosting had crusted, and I hadn't cut a single slice. My parents sent a text, short, careless. "Sorry, busy tonight. We'll do something later." Later never came. I curled into myself, tears smudging my eyeliner, staring at the cheap bracelet circling my wrist. A gift from my grandmother before she passed, a delicate silver band etched with the words, "Shine, even if they don't see you." She had pressed it into my palm years earlier, whispering, "One day, Emily, you'll learn that the people who overlook you aren't the ones who define you." That night, her words burned brighter than the candles. I blew them out, smoke curling into the silence. Something hardened inside me, not bitterness exactly, but resolve. I realized I couldn't keep waiting for people who never showed up. If my own parents could skip my birthday, then what was I holding on to? I wiped my tears, pulled out my laptop, and began searching. Jobs. Courses. Anything that could pull me out of the shadows. I didn't know where the road would lead, but I knew one thing. I was done sitting at a table waiting for people who didn't bring a chair for me. That was the night I made a promise, not just to the girl blowing out candles alone, but to the woman she would become. One day, I'd celebrate so loudly, they'd have no choice but to hear. The morning after that hollow birthday, I woke with puffy eyes and an ache in my chest that no amount of coffee could mask. But somewhere beneath the exhaustion, determination hummed like a live wire. I opened my laptop again, scrolling past endless postings until one caught my attention. Administrative assistant, Harbor Financial Group. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a door, and I needed one. I still remember my first interview, my thrift store blazer, the way my hands trembled as I smoothed my resume, the way the hiring manager, Mr. Daniels, looked at me with a mixture of pity and curiosity. I almost didn't get the job. Almost. But when he asked, "Why should we hire you?" something inside me sparked. "Because I don't know how to give up," I said. My voice cracked, but it was true. And somehow that was enough. The early days were brutal. Filing papers, fetching coffee, staying late to type reports I barely understood. But I watched. I listened. I took notes when no one noticed. While others clocked out at 5, I stayed until the cleaning crew turned off the lights. One evening, as I sat hunched over spreadsheets, a woman named Karen, one of the senior analysts, walked past, then doubled back. "Why are you still here?" she asked, setting her designer purse down. I shrugged, trying to understand these reports. I figured if I can learn the language, I can do more than just type them. Her eyes narrowed, but not unkindly. Most assistants don't bother. That night, she sat with me for an hour, explaining the basics of market trends. It was the first time anyone had invested in me since my grandmother. From then on, Karen became my mentor, tough, demanding, but fair. She pushed me harder than anyone else, but she also believed in me. The climb wasn't glamorous. I took online finance classes, studied until dawn, and failed exams more than once. I cried in bathroom stalls after botched presentations. I questioned myself constantly. Am I smart enough? Am I worthy? But every time doubt threatened to suffocate me, I touched that silver bracelet on my wrist and reminded myself, shine, even if they don't see you. Then came my first win. Karen let me pitch a small client. My voice shook, my palms sweated, but I closed the deal. It wasn't massive, but it was mine. That single check felt like a key turning in a lock. From there, the momentum built. I moved from assistant to analyst, from analyst to associate, each promotion carved out of sleepless nights and sheer willpower. By 28, I had launched my own consultancy, specializing in small business growth. By 30, I had my first $1 million client. Meanwhile, my parents still thought I was figuring things out. I kept my updates vague. Work's fine. Keeping busy? Part of me wanted to shout my victories from the rooftops. Another part wanted to keep it secret, a private fire. I didn't know them. But success has a way of spilling over. Soon, I bought my first luxury apartment overlooking the bay. Later, the yacht, my floating sanctuary. Every polished surface, every gleaming detail was built from the ashes of the night they forgot me. I told myself I didn't need them anymore. And yet, when I sent those invitations, I realized I wasn't just flaunting success. I was calling them back to the table. Only this time, the seat of power was mine. The night of the yacht party unfolded like a movie. Golden lights traced the railings, the deck gleamed like a polished mirror, and music drifted across the harbor, soft jazz that carried both elegance and anticipation. Guests began to arrive in clusters, their laughter rising like champagne bubbles. I greeted each one with practiced ease, my smile hiding the storm inside. And then I saw them. John and Linda Miller, my parents. They stepped onto the dock with the hesitant curiosity of tourists, dressed in outfits that looked more suited for a suburban barbecue than a yacht soiree. My mother's eyes darted everywhere. The chandeliers, the waitstaff, the glistening bottles of moat chilling in silver buckets. My father tugged at his ill-fitted blazer, jaw tight. For a moment I froze. Old reflexes wanted me to shrink, to make myself small. But the silk of my gown clung to me like armor, and the diamonds at my ears reminded me of the weight I now carried. I inhaled, shoulders back, and walked to them. "Emily," my mother whispered, almost as if she didn't believe her own eyes. "Welcome," I said, my voice calm but carrying. "I wasn't sure you'd come." Her lips parted, then closed again. My father gave a curt nod. Neither of them congratulated me. Neither said I looked beautiful. They didn't have to. The awe in their eyes betrayed them. As the evening flowed, I let them wander, let them absorb the world they had never asked me about. The walls lined with art from my travels. The grand piano gleaming in the corner. The staff addressing me with deference. Each detail was a revelation, each glance between them heavy with unspoken questions. Finally, when the sun dipped and the city skyline burned orange against the water, I called for silence. Guests gathered, glasses raised. My parents stood near the back, half hidden, as though unsure whether to claim me or disown me all over again. I lifted my glass. "Thank you all for being here tonight. Some of you know my story, some of you don't. But all of you, every single one, are part of this moment. My eyes swept across the crowd, then landed on them. When I was 23, I celebrated a birthday alone. No calls, no visits, not even from the people I expected most. That night, I promised myself that one day, I would host a celebration so unforgettable that no one could ever overlook me again. A hush fell. I took a breath. This yacht, this company, this life, it didn't come from luck. It came from nights spent working when the world was asleep. It came from being told I wasn't enough and deciding to prove otherwise. It came from rejection, silence, and the sting of being forgotten. My voice tightened, but I didn't falter. Tonight isn't about revenge. It's about truth. I am the founder of Miller Strategic Group. I employ hundreds. I built this with my own hands. And for anyone who ever wondered if I'd make it, well, you're standing on the answer. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother clutched her pearls. My father's face drained of color. I lowered my glass, letting the silence stretch. To those who doubted me, I said, locking eyes with them, "Thank you. You are the fire that forged me." The guests erupted in applause, the sound thunderous against the waves. I didn't look away from my parents. For once, they had no words. Their eyes glistened, not from pride, but from something sharper. Regret.
Shame.
The dawning realization that their daughter was no longer the girl waiting by the phone. She was the woman commanding the room. As the applause faded and the music resumed, I felt their eyes on me. Two people who once couldn't spare a moment for my birthday, now standing in the middle of my triumph, speechless. I approached them slowly, the clinking of my heels sharp against the deck. They stiffened, like children caught breaking rules, and for a brief second, I almost laughed at the reversal. "Emily," my mother started, her voice trembling. We didn't know. We didn't realize." I held up a hand, soft but firm. "That's the thing. You didn't ask." My father's jaw clenched. "We were busy. Life, it gets complicated." "Complicated enough to forget your own daughter's birthday?" My voice was low, but it carried. Their silence was answer enough. I exhaled, steadying myself. This wasn't about punishing them, it was about reclaiming myself. "You're here now, and I need you to understand something. If you want a place in my life, it won't be on the same terms as before. I don't need parents who dismiss me when it's inconvenient. I need people who show up." Their eyes widened. I pressed on. "First," I said, turning to my mother, "stop pretending everything is fine when it isn't. You cover hurt with silence, and that silence has been louder than any words. If you want to be part of my world, speak. Be honest, even when it's uncomfortable." She swallowed hard, nodding faintly. "Second," I turned to my father, "you measure worth in dollars and promotions. You made me feel small because I didn't meet your definition of success soon enough. If you want to be here, you need to learn that success is measured in presence, not status. You don't get to ignore me until I'm profitable." He looked away, shame etched into his features. "And finally," I said, my voice softening, "if you choose to stay in my life, you come with respect. Respect for who I am now, and respect for the journey that got me here. No more brushing off my milestones, no more jokes about me being too ambitious. You either celebrate me, or you don't stand beside me at all." The weight of my words settled over them. For once, neither interrupted. Neither argued. I leaned back slightly, letting my gaze drift across the glittering deck. "I built this world without you. I don't need you in it. But part of me still wants you here. The choice isn't mine anymore, it's yours." The silence between us stretched, thick with possibility. My mother's lip quivered. My father's eyes shone with something I had never seen before, fear, perhaps, or the sting of finally being held accountable. And then, like an anchor cutting loose, I felt lighter. Whatever they chose, I had already won. Because for the first time, I wasn't the girl waiting to be noticed. I was the woman setting the conditions. Later that night, as the party drifted into laughter and music, I stepped away from the crowd. The city lights shimmered across the water like scattered jewels, the hum of conversation floating behind me. I rested my hands on the polished railing, feeling the cool metal under my fingertips. A moment later, I sensed them approach. My parents stood quietly at my side, not dominating, not dismissive, but tentative, as though finally aware this wasn't their stage. My mother spoke first. Her voice was soft, raw. "Emily, I'm sorry. For every time I stayed quiet. For every time I looked away. I didn't realize how much it cost you." I turned to her, searching her face. For once, there was no mask, no pretense. Just truth. My father cleared his throat, his usual authority gone. "I thought toughness would make you stronger. I thought if I didn't coddle you, you'd fight harder. But I see now. I wasn't building you up. I was tearing you down." His eyes met mine. "I don't want to miss another moment." For years, I had imagined this: apologies, recognition, regret. Now that it was here, it didn't erase the past. It didn't erase the lonely birthdays or the ache of being invisible. But it was a start. "I'm not asking for perfection," I said quietly. "I'm asking for presence. Show up. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when I'm not hosting a party on a yacht." They nodded, and for the first time, I believed they understood. As the music swelled behind us, I glanced down at the silver bracelet around my wrist, the one etched with shine. "Even if they don't see you." My grandmother's voice echoed in my mind, steady and clear. She had been right all along. I didn't need their validation to shine. I had built my own light, and tonight it illuminated everything. The pain, the triumph, the love I still carried despite it all. I turned back toward the deck, raising my glass one last time. "To new beginnings," I said. My voice was strong, steady. "To showing up." The crowd cheered, my parents included. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the forgotten girl blowing out candles alone. I felt like the woman who had finally taken her place at the head of the table. They forgot my birthday once. But they will never forget this night.